25 Hours of Thunderhill is the longest road race, endurance race in North America. It is a bucket list item for road racers. It's also a sense of accomplishment, something that you set a goal out and try to achieve. It'd be the equivalent of wanting to run a marathon or wanting to climb Mount Everest. In the road racing world, it truly is a test of mind, teamwork, and endurance. It's an incredible race.
It's literally a survival race, to put it lightly, because you're not only racing 25 hours straight, but you're also your car needs to be able to handle that kind of abuse for that long, and tremendous strain on the drivers and the pit crew, but the car takes the most beating out of everyone. You've got elevation change and dips and blind corners, and it's pretty diverse for that type of track.
We are going to the 25 Hours of Thunderhill to try and win our class, which is the E3S class. It's a spec class made up of Mazda Miatas, Porsche 944s, and BMW E30s. We are the slowest class for the entire race, so it's not realistic to think we will finish, on the podium of overall, but we definitely want to win our class.
We are driving Helga G Pataki, which is, I believe, a 1987 325i. It's just a, 3.5 decade old BMW that gets down. That's what it is. And it became a 90s watermelon, basically. You're looking at a tiny little puppy that's supposed to sit on your lap, and then you're looking at like a trained killer. So that's basically the difference between Spec E30 and some of the prototype cars.
Our team's made up of 5 drivers. Our co-team, or the team we're racing with, is 6 drivers. It takes a whole lot of crew to keep going for that whole 25 hours.
The month of December, when the 25 Hours of Thunderhill is ran, the weather can range from freezing cold to rain, snow, fog. You can even get sunny days and potentially as high as 60 degrees. So you never know from year to year what the weather will be like.
Endurance racing is preparing for anything that could possibly go wrong. And when you have a 3-hour, 4-hour race, it's definitely important to expect certain things to go wrong and set up contingency plans for certain items that may take place. And with the 25, with that longer period of time, it just makes you that much more vulnerable to multiple things going wrong, but a bigger variety of things going wrong, just because you're putting a lot more stress on people and the car.
It took about 52 weeks of planning for us to get here, and in the last 4 weeks, it's been pretty intense getting ready. More importantly is all of the back end operations to get ready to race something like that for 25 hours straight, especially making sure that every part on your car can last on the track for 25 straight hours.
I think it's just the gnarliest test of preparation, for sure. You find out very quickly what you've failed to prepare or done a good job at preparing. There's so many little details to put this together. I guess if you can survive it, that's something real to win.
You cannot show up to the 25-hour race and expect to just put the car on track and even finish the race, let alone be competitive and try to win the race. There's a tremendous amount of effort, both in car prep, logistics, manpower, both in test days, prior to the race, making sure that the car is dialed in and ready to go. And then up until the final hours going into the race are critical as well. It's just a never-ending process for potentially as much as a year, but without a doubt the last 2 months before the race starts, you really have to put in a lot of effort. The 25 Hours of Thunderhill is in early December every year. Neil's adventure started in early December as well. Neil had to with the help of his entire family, move out of his house in San Diego, pack up an RV, and head up to Thunderhill for the start of their adventure. All of this is happening at the same time as they're trying to prep a car for this 25-hour endurance race that we were going to be doing.
It was definitely interesting earlier this year when I found out that Neil was going to be, moving out of his house and kind of traveling along the country. And during that time, he was prepping a car for the longest race in America. And, that's a big feat for what he had to do with just the car alone. But at the same time, he's got this family with a new kid on the way, pulling everything out of the house and, hitting the road. So the fact that he was able to do both those things at the same time, which are two huge on-takings and probably pretty stressful, and show up with a smile as he usually does is definitely something impressive.
Even though the car was fully operational, it had an engine that had always been good to us, showing no signs of any kind of problem. You just don't show up to the 25-hour with old stuff. Because we're building an endurance car too, we couldn't just take our engine and rebuild it, because you have to have a good spares package for endurance racing. And because everything we're pulling out was our good trusty stuff, we had to take it all out as one complete unit and keep it aside, because we might be swapping that in during or before the race. So we had to assemble an engine, and also we didn't have a good core for that. So we basically pulled like all of the parts out of the shelves and everything to just kind of piece together this engine. We had the bottom end built by my good friend Andy, and then we had to assemble the rest.
Mechanical refresh of the car. Every moving component, engine, transmission, we refreshed the differential, everything from suspension to brakes, everything got touched and, replaced with new parts that we are known to be good. And, we also added like tons of aftermarket parts like lighting.
It's always the best feeling when you put in hours upon hours of hard work prepping a car, rebuilding the engine, reinstalling the engine, making sure every wire is perfect, every spark plug is not crossed, and everything is just dialed in, and then you hit the ignition and everything just fires right up.
I don't feel anything in your hose.
You didn't have to pull like the fuse or anything like that?
It says 0 pressure.
Oh, fuck.
That's what's fucked is he tapped into the relay to get the signal for that.
Before we go too far,
I assume this is the fuel pump relay then? This guy.
the DME grounds the control side, which activates the switch, is why you're not hearing it click. So the DME is not grounding the relay. I bet if you jump pin 86 to ground, it's pin 86.
Take back
There you go.
3, 2, 1.
Sounds good, man. Stop.
It was a very much a full commitment because it was a lot of hours spent, after work and then on the weekends. And, I had a lot of help from Christian and Neil, and, we all just worked really well together as a team and put in a ton of hours on this car. I personally put in well over 100 hours just leading up to Chuckwalla. And then we also put on another, 50, 60 hours in on the car after that. So it was quite the project.
Prior to any endurance race or after you rebuild the car, you need to get some test hours on it. You cannot show up to an endurance race with an untested car. The OMS team and the pink BMW went out to Chuckwalla to test the car prior to the 25-hour. Chuckwalla is in Desert Center, California, which is in the middle of the desert, halfway between Phoenix and San Diego.
Ideally, the car would have been perfectly prepped weeks before the event, and we would have gone to Chuckwalla to do a final test. We barely made it to this Chuckwalla date with a running car, and there was a huge list of stuff that had to get done afterwards.
Agenda today is to have the best freaking time ever, learn how to drive better, break this car in so we can hopefully make it last 25 hours straight at the 25 Hours of Thunderhill.
We do, over the course of a race, potentially as many as 25 pit stops. You can win or lose this race on pit lane. And so you have to spend as little time as possible on pit lane, changing tires and fueling. The fueling system was designed to dump 5 to 6 gallons of gas in probably about 15 seconds. If you had to go out and use a gas station pump, you'd be on pit lane longer than you were on the racetrack. So that's why we use a very high flow fueling system.
That takes on fuel all the time. Was this sealed to the bottom of the tube?
Probably not.
So
I don't
this
think it was
goes
jammed
in. You jam it in as far as it'll. Not like that. Shit. That's 5 minute penalty. I think if you spill fuel, it's tap close. There we go. Nothing to see here.
If you're spilling fuel, you run the risk of fire or other issues on pit lane. Above and beyond that, you also run the risk of getting penalties. If you're dumping fuel on the ground or spilling it on fuelers or on the side of the car, the pit marshals will stop you and give you a penalty. It can be as much as a 5-lap penalty just for spilling fuel down the side of the car. So you cannot afford in this race to lose any valuable laps like that by spilling fuel.
realistically that's our shakedown day, and so we're trying to see if anything will fail on the car, and if it does, we have time to fix it. If not, then we're good. And in that case, like, we needed to do some minor adjustments, but nothing failed and all the parts that we had installed worked.
It's funny because John got his tune, so I was like, maybe I should get my tune. And we were gonna let him have that one little advantage, but now we have one more horsepower than he does. Brian and I have a full day on Friday, and then I'm leaving him with like 2 days for Monday, Tuesday. With the alignment and the corner balance, everything's happening last.
I think it all started with a few video conferences, and it started to come together, and everyone kind of decided what their roles were going to be, and I think we all got pretty lucky that Neil took on a large portion of that role, which is getting the car ready, and that's probably the biggest on-taking out of everything. And then I had a pretty easy job, which was trying to figure out how to house the crew, and we were originally going to get some hotels up there, but it was a little difficult. All the hotels were taken, and the ones that were left were probably the worst hotels in America. So that's when we put together the RV.
Shit just went down.
You want reality TV? You want reality TV?
Oh!
We've got Thunderhill coming up in about 5 days. And right now, we've got a plan to take this RV, it's called Thor, all the way up there. Just 4 or 5 dudes hanging out, road tripping. And the people that own it said, sorry, but we have to cancel. And it's in like 4 or 5 days, next Wednesday. So basically, we're screwed.
Unfortunately, about a week out from the event, the RV got canceled, which is what was not only going to tow the race car up there, but it was also going to sleep, like 8 of the people on the team. So I think that's when there was a little bit of a difficulty trying to figure out what we were going to do. And luckily, I was able to secure a second RV that worked out great. We got the car up there, and I think everyone liked their accommodations, and picked up all the guys at Oceanside, and then we hooked up the trailer, which was just this stuff with parts, so it was super heavy, and we were already in this massive RV, and so we're traveling at probably the speed of smell from Southern California to the tip of Northern California, and it took us I don't even remember, 12 hours or something like that.
Are you gonna sing a song?
We are leaving our house. We're going to the 25 Hours of Thunderhill as our first stop, but today's main thing is that we're actually leaving our house. We moved out of it for good and into the trailer with our family, which is gonna be rad. So it's like the actual start of a crazy adventure. You like camping? We're going glamping though, right? Glamping. Big difference. I knew it was going to be crazy, but towards the end it really did get totally crazy. And yeah, we're about to go on this adventure with our family where we're going to go live in our RV for a year and travel around the country. So that was kind of crazy, and but I kind of figured with enough planning on both ends, it would all come together just right. And with both the car and the move, both of them came down to the wire. Like, if you have the time, you're going to take it, and we did. now it feels good. It's been kind of stressful up until now, and now we're in like these beautiful hills, and we're here.
Who's that handsome man swinging? Quiet! Rain!
My little bear! Do you like our little bear hat? You guys both wore this hat too. Oh man, what's wrong? This hat is good for you. I didn't forget anything. I know I have enough stuff to get through this weekend.
That's funny. It is crazy how there's normally this feeling of like in a couple days we'll be, back at home unpacking everything.
Yeah,
And
we're just gonna go to another campsite.
keep this party going.
Once you arrive to Thunderhill, your schedule doesn't slow down or stop at all. You have 2 full test days on the 2 days prior to the race. Then you have qualifying Friday night in the evening, and then Saturday is when the race starts. You are at the track for nearly a full week prior to and during the race. It's a tremendous amount of effort and a tremendous amount of logistical planning that has to be put in place to make this work.
It's not competition until 11 o'clock on Sunday.
Listen, everyone's out playing here.
You can start working in the pits on Wednesday when the race doesn't start until Saturday. So Wednesday morning, we were there. We were the first people at the track. We won that race. Wednesday is basically just kind of pit setup. Thursday and Friday is to do morning practice for the car and the drivers, and afternoon practice for the crew.
The air expands, so basically we want to be targeting between 31 and 32 psi when it's hot. So we just allow for it to expand and kind of change as we race, and we're always monitoring it every pit stop and every time we see the car.
We refreshed pretty much everything, so every wheel stud was changed, every wheel bearing was changed, the brakes were changed twice just from qualifying to the start of the race, so we had a bedded set in case we needed to swap back to them, but hoping that our set would last 25 hours. Even the wheels were brand new, so we knew we had no imperfections on the wheels, so it wouldn't shake the car and break anything prematurely. All those things that you would never normally do for a race, you have to do for the 25. So for a 30 plus year old car, you are just trying to make it as bulletproof as possible.
We're testing with our parts car right now, setting some lap times for us to beat in this car, which shouldn't be hard, and then shake it down, make sure nothing else breaks, and we're good to go.
For what I was expecting, it's actually pretty nice out there. It's really cold though. You have to be careful with off the racing line. Just not a lot of grip. No, that was fun. I love this race, and it feels good to be back after 2 years. And the weather's nice this year, so I'm excited.
So I drove this car all season, and then Neil took back over this car, and now we're here at the 25, and we got a good team. I've driven this course quite a bit, not in something this slow, so it'll be interesting to try and make that adaptation.
it's an actual seal leak. Car came in after the first hour of testing with an oil leak, and we determined that the highest point was coming from near the crank seal area. But we ended up finding this sweet little crack, super hard to see. There's a hairline crack going all the way around the valve cover. We had a pretty short time period to build this car, and it was like approximately 6-7 weeks of just non-stop race car. And so to make it here and successfully run our first test day, we had like one little mishap with the cracked valve cover, spotted it, got it all dialed in, and now we're ready for day 2 of testing. But yeah, it's just been a lot of just craziness, lighting, electronics, just everything you could ever think of putting into a spec car.
During a normal pit stop of the 25-hour, driver in the car pulls the car in, tries to hit his mark, stop exactly where he needs to stop, and immediately you loosen the lap belts, the shoulder harness, and exit the car. You need to unplug the radio, drop the window net. Someone is there to help you out of the car and help the new driver in. It's critical that you go as fast as possible, but you don't rush anything, because if you rush it, you're going to make a mistake. While the driver change is happening, the fuel crew is at the back of the car refueling the car. They're putting 2 full jugs of gas in, and they're going as fast as they can, also without going too fast that they make a mistake. In addition to all of that happening, as soon as the fuel cap is put back on and fueling is done, that's when the tire changers take over and they do their job. The car's jacked up, one tire is removed, a new tire is put on, the torque wrench is put on the lug nuts, make sure the tire is going to stay on for the next driver stint, and the car's dropped down, the new driver takes off. So the minimum drive time for any driver at one point in time would be 1 hour. The most is usually about 2 or 3 hours.
We have a fueler team and a tire changer team. They're each responsible for getting to a point where they're really efficient in their stops. And that's one of the things I kind of noticed is we're the only ones actually doing practice in the pit lane. We started taking video of how the fuelers were doing their routine and then playing it back to them. Because it would take us like 5 minutes or so to drain the gas back out of the car because we were doing live practices with it. And over those 5 minutes, they reviewed the video and they talked like, oh, hey, well, what if I actually approach from this direction instead of that direction? We might save a little bit there. And they were analyzing their videos, doing it again, and each time cutting seconds off the fuel stop. I think the first time it was like 1.5 minutes, and in practice, they got it down to 47 seconds.
This is awesome. Hopefully they'll fuel for us too.
How did it all go today?
Good. I mean, we had some issues with Burgundy in the beginning of the day. Throttle cable, grommets and that were nowhere to be found, but everything got fixed. Took it out for the last session of the day and it was amazing. Much better than our parts car.
How long, do you know how long your fueling takes?
56 seconds.
56? All right, guys, I need 46. Go.
Feel good?
We topped that shit off.
Say it! Say it!
47.
No way.
I'm gonna take my car off.
Guys.
Hell yeah.
That was so good.
That was a good one.
Ooh.
Yeah, we got a lot of fuel in there.
Imagine what would happen if we did one more. I'm just kidding. We got tomorrow.
That was a good one.
That was solid, you guys. That was
a good one,
really,
buddy.
really impressive. That was cool.
Check it out.
So the car was good this morning. We got cycled through all the drivers. We got to do some hot pit stop practice, which was fun, and it got everyone kind of comfortable and got their blood pumping early in the morning, which was awesome. Now just kind of doing some preventative maintenance that we don't want to do at 7 o'clock tonight after qualifying. So a little brake change, a little bit of little changes here and there. But other than that, all the drivers are pretty excited. This car is a lot of fun to drive, and yeah, we're looking forward to the evening session.
Much better day than yesterday. Yesterday we had a bunch of broken things, and today we have a bunch of working things. So we're just collecting data for what the car does when it runs low on fuel. We're getting all the drivers cycled through the car, and it's really cool because they're all working with each other and saying like, hey, like you need to put the belts like this, and everybody's giving feedback that'll make our performance during the pit stop stops seamless.
Crew had been practicing nonstop. It started in Chuckwalla with their test day, practicing tire changes and fueling stops. The testing then continued once we got to Thunderhill for 2 days straight. Multiple pit stops, dumping fuel into the car, changing tires. And all of this was in preparation so they knew what to do. And not only know what to do on a normal pit stop, but they know what to do if something strange happens. During an endurance race, you never know what can be thrown at you. You may have a flat tire on track, or you may have a breakdown, or you may have another car blocking your pit stop. So you really have to be prepared for anything. And this crew really was prepared for anything.
We're gonna pause, and he's gonna drain fuel, and then we're gonna do a hot one more time. Sound good?
What the fuck?
Take care.
Dude.
Nice. So much better.
I didn't even need that on the dog. Oh wow. That was nervous. You fucking guys. Committed to
Ryan Lindsley is crew chief, so he's running the ultimate strategy. But we are aiming to qualify fast, start top two, head out fast and get a lead. So we'll probably have our fastest drivers in first. I will be the slowest driver, I'm sure, so I'll most likely get the double yellow corner worker change shifts and things like that. But yeah, we're definitely strategizing how to get the most laps for the fast drivers in the times of day that are going to be fast and most beneficial to the team. So, our ultimate goal is to win.
I've touched every single nut and bolt on this car. I know exactly where everything is. I know the torque on everything, and so that's you know, kind of my safe haven, because I know that I have gone through everything and like been able to see that everything's mechanically sound. And so now we get to you know, abuse this car for 25 hours, and you know, assuming it doesn't break, this is going to be freaking awesome. But you know, if it does break, you know, we got a huge team here to fix it all.
Penalty-free event, right? Okay. Also remember, when you're on track and you're about to pull that risky pass, it's a 25-hour long race. You don't want to be in the pits for 30 minutes banging on a fender. Okay, you're waiting for a tow. We all good? Let's have a good, safe event.
Thank you. So, race is tomorrow, and we did a couple test days. Right now we did diff, trans, engine oil. I'm taking the wheel studs out, and then he's taking the passenger side axle out because we put a brand new one in and it sung grease everywhere, which is unfortunate.
I mean, it wasn't that stressful. Like, it was more anticipation. Like, everybody was really excited. I was super upbeat and happy about everything. Like, hey, we made it to the race. But you know, there's definitely work that had to be done. Like, you know, the Friday night after qualifying and all of that, like Christian and I put on, you know, solid like five hours of work just doing, you know, all the fluids, new brakes, some suspension components, axles, stuff like that, and just making sure that the car is like 100% ready for, you know, that long endurance. So it wasn't necessarily a negative kind of stressful. I think it was just a really crazy anticipation for the race.
You're aiming the headlights. We almost forgot to do that, and we were just gonna wing it with how they were aimed, but I'm super happy with the spread of light that we have. I think we should have less complaints from our drivers.
Friday night, not a lot of people know this. We went out to aim the lights, which is something really important. And the fuse for our fan blew while the car was idling. And we didn't catch it. And it went all the way into the red, which on a BMW engine is bad news bears. Because that, it can crack the cylinder head or cause some kind of head gasket leak. And you might not know it until it runs for a couple more hours. You know, you might not know. So I was like crushed. I was like, oh my God. We made it so close. All these people are relying on us to bring this reliable car. And then at the last minute, this little thing happens. There's nothing we can do about it. It was basically what I was thinking. I was just like, so we have to just run this and hope for the best. We let it run for a while just to make sure there was no signs of a gasket leak or something like that. And then we closed it up and crossed our fingers.
There's so much intensity because everyone has just kind of this heightened sense of excitement because, I mean, so many teams have spent hours and hours like building these cars to get it ready for this specific race. And so you have everybody out there together. And I mean, we're walking up and down the grid, and it's just like everything from like LMP, like prototype cars, to, you know, wide body aero E46s, just, you know, in higher classes than us. And then we have our class with like the Miatas and, you know, the BMWs, and it's just really cool just to see the like the amount of different types of cars that are on the grid all at the same time.
So everyone's just kind of like not using any extra energy. The cars are pushed out instead of driven. Like everybody's just, they know they're in for the long haul. That's when you realize how many people are really there, because there's just people everywhere. Each car has 20 to 30 people supporting it.
To just be here is a win. And if we can make it to the podium, it's going to be epic. Not much to update, man. We're ready to go. We're ready to bring it.
So our race starts in about 20 minutes. For the last 2 days, we've just been practicing and fixing things, and we think that all of the things have been fixed and the practice has been practiced, and we're ready to do it for real now. So we'll drive for about an hour and a half, and then we'll do our first real pit stop. And then we'll just keep doing that for about 24 more hours. We're just gonna drive. We got a rad team.
You know, not only is there 50 race cars lined up to start a 25-hour race, everyone's crew is out there, and so, you know, there's hundreds of people out there on the main straight. And you know, I was obviously pretty anxious. You kind of are nervous, but you want to get in the car, and you kind of want to get it over with, but you kind of want to enjoy it. So you don't really know what to feel. You just know that something like immense is happening.
Calm excitement. We're just kind of like calmly, let's go racing. Everybody has always said it in every driver's meeting ever for endurance racing, that you can't win this in the first corner, but you could certainly lose it. And this is the first endurance race I've ever been at where someone actually did not hear that. And there was some shenanigans in the first corner of the 25.
Anytime I'm in the car, my mind is solely focused on racing. Anything else that's happening in my life or in the world is gone. It's solely focused on the task at hand, which is trying to win the race. Yeah, when I'm racing against a similar powered car or a very similar setup car, I enjoy staying behind them for a couple laps and watching where their strengths are and where their weaknesses are. Two cars can run the exact same lap time and get it from totally different places on track. When you can sit behind somebody for a lap or two and watch where they are fast and where they are slow, or where you have an advantage or where they have an advantage, you can set things up for the future laps. So if a car is identical to us and I can see that we have the same exact amount of power, but I can carry more speed through a certain turn, I will plan for that 1 or potentially even 2 laps ahead to set everything up, to make sure that when that turn comes up on the next lap, I have a good run on them and I can exit faster than they are exiting.
The leader's coming up on you there, the first car. It's fun.
Copy, I got him.
We happen to be in the slowest category, which is always interesting because instead of looking forward during the race, you're usually looking backwards to make sure that you're not about to get clipped by a missile. So I think there's a couple times during the race where the top class are in, basically these prototype cars that are super low to the ground, have 5 times the horsepower we do, and all this aero, and the variety in cars is really interesting just because it creates a totally different dynamic than just going out there in the same class. And there's some cars that were in the classes above us that weren't that fast, and there was cars in front of us that were way faster. So you're just kind of constantly dancing around with the potential of someone either getting past or passing you.
Feel like you're giving everything that you have
And the car has.
and the car has, but it's not enough, and it's
Yeah.
just like
It's just like, that's nothing. Look what I can do. It's kind of like when a truck passes you on the freeway, though. Like when those guys are just flying by and they're like millimeters from your mirror and it shakes your car, even though you're full tilt boogie down into the next turn. And it's just like, wow, I feel like I'm standing still. I don't think there's a speed differential like that in any other race in the
Humbling.
world. Yeah, it's very humbling.
We were last for a while. And that's the thing though, that wasn't making us change anything. Because all we had to do is race our race for 24 hours and then figure it out.
There is also oil in 15. Oil in 15.
Copy that.
Communication is huge, so I'll be on the radio with the drivers, and if they have any sort of issue on the track, or if they go off and I've got this crazy vibration, I at least know what to expect, and I know what to look for when they come in for the pit. Obviously, something fails, that's a different story. We're gonna pull them back to the cold side of the pit, and then we're just gonna hands-on go to town, diagnose it, fix it as quickly as possible, and hopefully have them back out on track. You're only allowed 8 people over the wall at one time while fueling. And so there's these very specific rules you have to follow by. And so if I had availability, I would be jumping over, checking the oil, making sure, suspension components and everything are okay, that I can see visually, same with brakes and all that. But I was hopping in between and helping out with like cleaning windshields and just little stuff here and there, just kind of doing the best that I could to support our pit crew.
I'm chilled AF. That tire over there is the one complaining.
Before I get in the car, I'm thinking about just my checklist to get in the car. So, making sure that my harness is connected and my belts get done properly and my cool suit gets connected, and I know where my drink hose is and everything's tight and I can't move my neck forward much. And then I'm just waiting for that trunk to shut and get released to go on track. And then once I'm on track, I don't think of anything other than the next corner and what's around me.
Yeah, and in a race like that, every second counts, and so it really is down to the crew and their support of the team. The drivers can do what they do, but we can lose it or win it in the pits.
Great stop, guys. Thank you very much. That was quick.
Sun's going down. We're in first place, not far away from second, third, or even fourth. It's still anybody's race at that point. I think fourth might have been like 5 laps down, which is only 10 minutes.
I guess that might be the fog coming in that we're seeing now.
There is definitely fog coming in, no doubt.
Fog's pretty bad through 2. Can't see the outside of the corner very well.
Copy that. We can hardly see 4 from the pits.
Yeah, 3's pretty bad, 4's pretty bad. This is gonna get interesting.
There's always a curveball at the 25. And this year, we had seen it every day leading up to it. It was foggy. When you woke up, you couldn't see the track. And we're just like, oh man, if it's like this during the race, that's the one reason they'll stop the race.
I'm just driving to reflectors now. and the traffic's coming to a stop.
Car off. You can get out.
I can get out?
Yep, you're gonna be here for a while.
Can I go pee?
Yeah, no, we're gonna be under red flag for a long time.
And they brought everybody onto the front straight. Had you park the car as it was. You could turn off whatever you needed to turn off, and just had to leave it. And everybody gets out their apps. You know, some of the guys on our team are pilots. They're looking at his app. This guy's looking at his app, and they're like, "Yeah, fog's not going to clear until 9 tomorrow or whatever." And we basically had a driver's meeting where they explained what was happening to make sure everybody's on the same page. And they said, "We'll wake y'all up when the fog clears."
Drivers and teams, just so you know, you may cover your cars, but it's more important to report to the drivers' meeting. Thank you.
I think everyone's getting an opportunity to go back to their pit areas and probably relax for a little bit and warm up, and then hopefully we'll get out there in a couple hours. I don't know.
In the rules, it says we will extend the race the length of the red flag for 5. So whatever that is, in 2 hours, we'll go another 2 hours, 3 hours, we'll go another 3, but we won't go past 3 p.m. today, or Sunday. Are we clear on that? Okay, hopefully it's an hour or 2 delay.
We've got the best lights out of the entire field and we don't get to use them. I just spent so much.
It got a bit foggy all of a sudden. Couldn't see very much. So now we get to cover our cars and take a nap. It's recess time. It was interesting driving the slowest class with super fast cars around you. Just make sure you stay out of their way and don't make any sudden movements.
Freaking phenomenal. There's lights on the car. You can see. It's a good little car. It's a really good little car. A lot of fun.
Hand holding that.
I need a beach to put it on.
Yeah.
That was kind of a weird thing for the energy, because you're like racing and going, and then all of a sudden you're like, now you just gotta wait. Fog cleared close to 4 in the morning, I think. Back to racing, just like that.
Everyone's challenging themselves against themselves. Can I take that corner faster? Can I get the gas cap on? Can I jump over the wall faster? Can I fill the cool soup, 10 seconds faster? All of those things accumulate over that 25 hours and make a huge impact. And I don't think I ever truly realized the the impact of seconds in time until you get into racing, right? Like it's just magnified.
Getting good drive out of 14, 15, so I knew it was pretty bad.
We started the race great. We were in P1 from the start of the race. After I think the third stint, we were down to P4. We had a short pit stop, or not a slow pit stop, but one driver came in a little early, so that dropped us to P4. And then this morning, went back out, started P4. I think we're maybe still P4, maybe P3 by now. We got Keely in the car now, and he's putting down some really fast laps. And yeah, that's about it. We're race to the finish now. It's a sprint.
My favorite part was at sunrise. Like, I wanted to see that track, and then on top of it, just racing at sunrise is completely, new to me. I've never seen this before, and I've never seen a endurance race go through the night. So I was really looking forward to that. And we got this just beautiful sunrise, and we were just watching the cars go flying around, and it was just a really cool experience. It was just something completely, unique to me.
Okay, how many sessions?
Magical and mystical, and it's really crazy seeing the sun coming up after you just being in complete blackness. Makes you, just, it's therapy. Yeah, when you can see where you're going and you can see what's around you, and you're like, oh my god, I've just been racing with that LMP car blasting by me, and all I could see were lights, and now I can actually see the car and see how close he was getting to me.
Actually, the worst part of it was if you had a car with really bright lights behind you, or like right on your ass or next to you, I couldn't see anything.
contact with the 99, door-to-door contact with the 99.
A lot of fun, a lot of strategy, a lot of excitement to go for a 25-hour race and compete against cars that are exactly the same as you. It really boils down to strategy. It boils down to pit stops. From a driver, it is a tremendous experience and a tremendous challenge to do everything you can to get any slight advantage you can, because it really does boil down to the minute details.
You know, with a couple hours to go, we were looking at all the classes, and most of them were decided. Like, first place was up 10 laps, first place is up 20 laps, like whatever it was. Our class, within the 4 people running, you're within like 6 laps. It was crazy. So I think we definitely had the most competition. We're still in first, but the guy in second was the Miata team, and they were very slowly catching us with pit stops, basically. Their pit stops were super slow, but they only needed to do 3 pit stops for every 4 that we did. So we were watching them. They weren't looking like much of a threat then, but because of these math guys, they were letting us know that at the end of the race, it was going to be really tight. So every second counted. By the end of the race, we're going to be within 30 seconds of each other. And Black Swan was not too far behind the Miata guys. And even the guys behind them were still in the running. So anything can happen, and a couple hours to go is still a couple hours of racing.
Okay, they got 10 minutes to get up here. This is not the worst spot. Yeah, you sit in the car right there. No, being close.
That was 4.5 hours. It's already 1:40 p.m. now. Yeah, a lot of fun. 3 very different stints. The first one, the right front was cording. That's that set. I felt a big vibration in the front. We came in. Second stint, that happened. And you could feel it going for about 10 or 15 minutes. The rear end getting a little bit choppy, and I'm like, guys, like I can't sustain it. Stayed in the car, ran a 3rd stint, and that was probably some of my best laps of the whole weekend in that 3rd stint. It was a total blast, and yeah, I hope we get to do 25 hours next year, but honestly awesome, very fun. I just know that we're like in the top 3 because I haven't even looked at my phone for, you know, Race Hero or whatever, but I think we're in a good spot to be on the podium, and that's honestly all that matters after this event for this team. There's a green Miata that we're battling. I'm not sure which lap the pink BMW is on.
We'll play nice today.
Yeah, they've been fast all race. It's been fun to try and keep up. And we came across each other on track a couple times. It was fun because we'd always wave, give a miss. Yeah, but super respectful, lots of fun, you know, dicing it up. It was actually kind of cool because I think he gave me the point by going into 6th, and then the Norma came flying up the inside, so it was fun to go like 3 wide. That was neat.
by the time we left the pits for the third stint, we ended up in first place, and we pretty much stayed there for the entire race. And then towards the end of the race, some of the teams were starting to catch up. And so those last few pit stops were pretty important, because if there was a mistake in the pits, that's how we would lose the race, basically. It kind of came down to trying to decide which tire should we replace, and Scott and Max were analyzing all the tires, trying to figure out how tires were kind of lasting throughout the race, and which tires were at the most risk, and which tires gave us the most time, and they were trying to kind of figure out what we needed to do. Just a quick second to appreciate the sound of the air guns, and I'm like, I'm a freaking race car driver. But then it's like, okay, besides bringing the car and expecting it to run, I can now also crash it, and it'd be my fault that we don't finish this race. All I got to do is drive and do what they tell me. Anything could have happened at any time. So basically, I'm just like holding my breath and crossing my fingers.
Woohoo, man! That just keeps getting butter and butter.
That was a pretty emotional moment for me, just because I was like, all that time, energy, all this commitment, and then just seeing how well that the team worked together and everything, it all just came together, and we ended up getting first. So it was just the craziest thing to me, and I'm like, the car survived. It was the best feeling. This is an experience I'll always remember, not only just the time leading up to it, but the actual race itself, and then that energy going home of just the excitement and everyone just being so happy that we had done well, the car performed, and just, I don't know, we all created a pretty cool bond up there, I think, as well.
Everything we're timing is in seconds and minutes of lap times, and all of a sudden that accumulation of 24 hours comes to an end, or 25, and you can look back and see what you've actually accomplished over that time, and the significance of that.
Makes you feel really like we achieved greatness, but it took so many people to do it.
that you can truly understand it, even though everyone told me, until you're actually there and experiencing it, and then all time just stops, and it's like this kind of magical 25 hours that unfolds.
Yeah, and then we finished one lap off of the leader. After 25 hours. I think the top 4 cars within 4 laps.
Just grateful for everyone and everyone showing up in their most authentic best selves, and everyone played to their strengths and knowing what that was. I think that everyone came to the table with something to bring, and everyone gave equally, from the drivers all the way down to the person who went and got gas. And for other people it bleeds into other parts of your life, right? We just did that, so I can do this. It gives you that confidence to kind of ride the coattails of in your personal life, and that's kind of the goal, right? To improve overall as a person, and it's lessons learned that you can take home and apply into other areas of your life.
We had a lot of fun. The crew had a lot of fun, and I think they turned out to be one of the best crews in the entire paddock. There was 0 penalties, 0 mistakes. They did a tremendous job, never spilled a drop of fuel, never made a mistake on the tire changes. It was really, really incredible to watch.
You could look at our team at any time during the event, and they were having fun. It taught me once again how important culture is. Anybody who did our pit crew was not trained. They weren't tire guys, they weren't fueler guys. They were as good as professionals when they were there, and they only talked about fuel or tires for those 4 days. I just try to take some of that leadership lessons that I learned from the 25 and apply it to business and try to come out in first place.
As it comes to a close, it's just this weight off your shoulders. It's really a feeling that you can't explain. I don't think there's really words to describe. Neil and the crew and everyone kind of put in a lot of work to make it feel like it wasn't as difficult as it actually should have been. I think he showed people how fun this work can be, and I think he's done a really good job of building a community that seems like a large family. It definitely brings you closer to everyone, because I think there's a trust and a friendship that's built through that experience that you really just can't do doing other things. That's an experience I'll never forget. That's gonna burn in my memory for the rest of my life.
We did it right one time, and I guess I gotta do it again to make sure that's an actual trend, or I didn't just get lucky.
There's nothing really bigger in our sphere of racing than the 25. So we've come second. Now we've got to come first. Oh, very excited. Can't wait to get in this beast. Sound some laps.
Based on what we have.
Drifting.
Yeah. Well, I mean.
Most movies have crews of over 100 people. Even smaller films still have a team of people to get the job done. This film was done by one guy. This guy. He filmed, edited, color corrected, chose the audio, did all the interviews, and mastered the completion of this film. Kyler, I am so lucky to have you in my life. Thank you so much for documenting this adventure for our team and my family. You killed it. You gotta keep eye contact when you're done. I looked away. We gotta do this one again.
Oh, hey, what's up, dude? How's it going?
It was a great battle. Going back and forth.
I need more lube.
Ma'am, there's a horse in the field. Sir?
Wow.
Sky just keeps getting prettier and prettier.
This is the garbage bag. No. Nice. Garbage bag. I have the same one and I like it.
Leaking oil. We're good.
What's going through your mind right now?
That.
Making really good progress.
It could run it as is right now and we'd probably still win. But only bring that out if we do win.
We almost dropped the car.
One last good look at it. He's like, I'm in the moment. What are you thinking? What is he thinking? What are you thinking of, what? He's thinking of girls.
And